Hi, I am Amma Duncan, founder of the Fabulous Woman Network. Welcome to Mind Your Business. I love to help others in their personal development journey through training, coaching, mentoring, events, and writing. Mind Your Business is our weekly podcast where we share enriching content to help Africans, especially women, create wealth and impact people. We believe this is important for God. Now, Mind Your Business is a free resource, but if you prefer to work with me one-on-one, then you have to start with a discovery call. Go to amaduncan.com/store to book a discovery call with me. The link is in the caption. Recently on Mind Your Business, I've started a new series called Understanding the Times. And this is based on, what is happening in our economy right now and its ripple effect in other areas of our lives. So we're using Dr. Margaret Swarbrick's 8 dimensions of wellness and looking at each one of them every week. We started this a couple of weeks ago with spiritual wellness, and last week we looked at physical wellness. This week we are talking about emotional wellness. And then, God willing, over the next 5 weeks as well, we will continue. Now, this week I am privileged, truly privileged to have, the opportunity to sit at the feet of 2 fabulous women who are doing amazing in their fields. I listen to them. I seek counsel. I don't go to them directly and ask, hey, how can I deal with this or that? But through the content that they shared, through engaging with them, there's so much that I get from. And I'm so happy that today I have the opportunity to sit on their feet. And both of them have actually been on Mind Your Business before. So this is, for one of them, it's actually her third. So Lady Cato Andah, she is an amazing woman with a lot of letters to her name, MBA, MA, LMHC, and all these. And she's a Christian psychotherapist. She's a mindset coach. She's really a sought-after speaker. So I'm so privileged to have the opportunity for her to say yes to this. And she also has her own show called the Hopemongers podcast. She also founded Chrysalis Counseling and Coaching. And she's done many other things. She lives in Florida, and I'm always saying I have to go there just so I can visit her and use her pool. I know that's funny, right? And she introduced me to an amazing woman as well called Lady Rissi. She's Lady Rissi Carrey. I've had the opportunity to interview her earlier this year and then today again. Now, Lady Rissi is a member of the clergy. She's a counselor, a transformational coach, CEO of Risoasis Inc. And she's, her business is dedicated to wellness and wholeness in the mind, body, soul, and spirit. And quite recently as well, she has graduated. She's also a therapist. These 2 amazing women are going to help us delve into the subject matter of emotional wellness and how to take care of that dimension of our wellness, especially in these times. Ladies, grab your cuppa. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, grab your cuppa or your cup of water or something, and let's dig in. Hello, my senior ladies. I feel like calling you my senior prefects. Senior prefect in the ministry, thank you so much for making time to join us again on Mind Your Business. How have you both been? So first, Lady Abba, you answer, and then Lady Rissi, you can also answer.
Lady Amma, I've been wonderful. It's been an interesting year. And I think for most of us, there have been highs and there have been lows. But all in all, I am blessed and I am happy and I'm strong. So I'm grateful.
To God be the glory. And how about you, Lady Rissi?
Same. It's been an interesting year. As I'm talking to you, my daughter had surgery 2 weeks ago, so we are mending, we are on the mend. And life has had its twists and turns. But I also believe that even in those in these difficult times, that is when God also reveals himself actually deeply. So then without these trials, without these challenges, then you wouldn't get to know the next dimension of God. So yes, I'm grateful for everything. And his strength is really made perfect when we are in that place of weakness. So,
And we are wishing her a speedy recovery as well. Thank you both. And you both are women of many, many hats. Honestly, I don't even know how you do it. Both of you. I mean, Lady Rissi, you are in the clergy, you have your own ministry, and then you're a counselor, you're a coach, so many different things. And I'm wondering, what have you been up to in these days, in these times where, I don't know, I mean, both of you are in the US, but I've been speaking to a few people and I know that things are also interesting there. So just tell us, please, what have you been up to, Lady Rissi?
So I completed my, licensing as a therapist. So that journey has come full circle. And, just restructuring the business, particularly this mental health space and all the demands that now I think we are mandated to help communities and help humankind. So yes, even though this is personal goals, now I see the global mandate, even for those of us in this space, because people are not doing well. And it's going to take our skills and God's direction for us to merge and bring the two together, particularly people of faith, where we would give people the tools of, okay, the Lord, but these are also the clinical pieces so that we can blend it together. Because some people are surviving, some people are underwater, and Lady Abba knows. She lives in Florida, so underwater. And so we need to equip people so that they can be self-sufficient in God to navigate these rough waters. So
it's interesting, and I can't wait to dig into the trends right after Lady Abba also shares what you've been up to. Oh, and congratulations on completing your school. I remember the last time we spoke, you were still in school. So congratulations, well done. Go you. All right, Lady Abba, tell us, what have you been up to in Florida? Let me just say this on record. Recently, I was telling someone, I don't know, I think Pastor Annette, that I have to come to Florida just because of your swimming pool.
Come, just make sure you don't come in hurricane season. So as I sit here, we are waiting for Tropical Storm Nicole, which I just started hearing about it yesterday, but the airport is closed this afternoon. The schools and offices are closed, and it's prayerfully not like the last hurricane. Still, we are taking precautions and just trusting God through it. Yeah.
The way you're saying it is like, I'm like, oh my God, there's a storm, but it's like for you, this one, it happens. So,
I'm not cavalier about it, but I think it's just like life, right? We understand that the truth is that you don't know what tomorrow holds. You only know who holds tomorrow, right? And so then there's no point trying to get ahead of yourself and worrying, and oftentimes you should just drag yourself back from that future imagined worst case scenario. Prepare, do everything you need to do in the present, and then just flow, so that I think there's even a lesson preparing for the hurricane. There's so many lessons in how we should live our lives as well. But beyond that, I continue. I'm a therapist. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been licensed for about, almost 10 years now. I continue to do that. I continue to do a lot of advocacy work, give talks. The people, like Sister Rissi said, people are not doing well. In addition to that, the good thing is that people are becoming aware that, yes, we have to look after our emotional health. So there's a demand for what Sister Rissi and I do. And this is a heart job, to be honest with you. It takes it because we are still kind of building that awareness. building the lessons and so on. So yes, I'm doing advocacy work. I'm doing my one-on-one therapy. Sister Rissi and I have had conversations about how we can collaborate in the new year to really take our message far, because I think this is really a season of collaboration to bring what we do together and really hopefully have more impacts as well. So
that warms my heart, like these fabulous Ghanaian giants abroad just collaborating and making things happen. Don't mind me, I just get too excited. So speaking of people are not doing well, let's talk about the trends. What's happening? Both of you are, counselors, therapists, and of course, mothers, wives. You are women in society that a lot of people look up to and come to and talk about issues. What are the trends you're observing these days, and what would you attribute what's happening to? So let's start with you, Lady Rissi.
So I think what is happening is there has been a culmination of our mental health and our well-being, particularly women. We put ourselves last. So we've been going all through our lives, not addressing unresolved issues. We have not finished our finished businesses. And then COVID hit. Because in my case, vividly, I lost 2 in-laws in 2019 back to back. Actually, they were both buried in the same grave. We went for one's funeral, and the other one died that same week that we were going to bury the other one. So Osu Cemetery, we built this story building. Can you imagine? As a grave, both of them are there. So this is 2019, and then COVID hits, right? So then you are either grieving or you haven't even started the process and you were going, right? And then this faces you. So then, because we have not finished our finished businesses and we play avoidance in reference to we were used to going to work. So maybe if you live with a spouse that you can't stand, we are being real. A spouse that you can't stand, if you leave the house at 8 and come home, 6 p.m. and, dinner and everything else, you escape to sleep, right? Suddenly, you are all supposed to shelter in place. And the things that have not been dealt with for so long begin to surface. You're living it in real color. So I believe that is what COVID did. The stress of life showed up. Things we've put off. Emotional constipations or emotional nurturing that we have not dealt with all culminated through COVID. And then the uncertainty that COVID added made some of us anxious, some of us, depressed, and then it started. For me, that is, I think, what it encompasses.
Mm. Mm. And obviously, all these things came with its own emotional challenges. Already people were dealing with stuff, and then COVID just came. And I don't know about you in the US, but in Ghana, have you heard what's happening with the prices of oil? So recently, this whole oil price thing I thought was only Ghana, but I'm seeing memes of videos all around the world where oil prices have gone up, and oil is just one thing, but so many other things. Prices have doubled, tripled, cement, and all these things. And recently, I was having a conversation with my coach, and then he mentioned how actually it's not just about the pricing, but how this will have an effect on people's mental health. And so it's one of the reasons I really pushed for you ladies to be here so that we can talk about. And so first of all, Lady Abba, is this a trend you are noticing in the US as well, that prices are just skyrocketing, or it's fine there, so we should all just run there?
Oh, today I went to the grocery store and prices are high just across the board. It's painful. It's painful, to fill your tank with gas. It's increased, just so it's so high. Everything Lady Rissi said, I see it in my practice as well. And I think the only thing I'll add is that when you are already stressed, something else in your life feels heavier, if that makes sense. So therefore, already everything that COVID brought, the loss, the illnesses, the strained relationships, and then you're adding this new wave of financial pressure, we feel it even more. And I remember years ago when I was a pharmaceutical drug rep, and we used to and I used to promote a medicine for depression. But there was one study we always used to tell our doctors that, they found when people are depressed, they actually feel physical pain more intensely. Right? And when people are feeling lots of physical pain, they may also just have, it may impact their mental health. So the truth is that all of these things are linked. So it's coming at us, the financial pressures, the relational pressures, like Lady Rissi said, the unresolved issues, the latent depression that is manifesting itself right now. It's all just coming together. And I think, again, maybe the good thing in all of this is that we are recognizing that, with all that's happening, let's take care of our mental health. So therefore, there's an increased demand for mental health services.
So speaking of mental health, so for the past few weeks and over the next couple of weeks, we are looking at wellness as a whole. So this doctor that I'm not going to try to mention her name again, but she propounded the 8 dimensions of wellness, and one of them is emotional wellness. Please, what does it mean to say someone is emotionally well? Or, the phrase emotional wellness, Lady Abba, what does this mean, please, from the professional perspective, and then you can break it down to our level so people like me can understand.
Yeah, I think the whole point of emotional wellness is that we can get through life, right? And kind of, you can go to war and come back very wounded, right? Or if you put your armor on, you can go into war and come out and kind of still stand. And so emotional wellness, I'm going to start with from the vantage point of mental health. And then I'll let Rissi talk about the emotional aspect. So when we are mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, we actually have that, capacity to go through our daily activities and be productive. All right. We have the capacity to maintain fulfilling relationships. And in this world of change, we can cope with change. There are some people, you bring a little change to their schedule or to their lives and boom, they've kind of crumbled, right? And I think another aspect of it as well is the ability to cope with stress. And I think then the emotional wellness component means that, okay, you know what? It's not that I don't have emotions, but when I'm emotionally healthy, I'm able to process them, understand what it is I'm experiencing, figure out what is causing it, and then process it so that it doesn't just sit on me as I'm going through my day.
Right. Thank you. And Lady Rissi, did you want to add on to that, please?
Yeah, exactly. How she really explained it. And what I think this goes way back is because the emotional aspect of us is unseen. It is not something that we even have language for. When a 2-year-old wants their independence, they will tell you, I'll do this myself. Standing on that stoop, trying to brush their teeth. They are messing it up, but they are fighting for autonomy. They have language for that. But yet, so they have language. Okay, when I wake up, this is what I do. But when we are growing up, this emotional part is not anything that is addressed. So we go through life with that, really dealing with that area. And like Lady Abba said, physical illness correlates with mental health. And so we don't even know the difference. Some people are going through these body aches and they don't realize, maybe it's depression setting in. They are irritated, set on edge, but they don't have the language. So that is the problem. It starts from there. People have dealt, I went to boarding school. People have dealt with all kinds of things. And we push it, right? And we move forward.
My mother will tell you, if you are crying, if you don't keep quiet, I'll give you something to cry about. Implying that you have food on the table, clothes on your back. So what is your problem?
Yeah.
And it's not fault. She could only do the best she could do based on what she knew, right?
Yeah.
But absolutely, with there is emotions despite whatever is happening in our lives. Everybody processes things differently. It's about understanding what's going on and learning how to deal with it. My daughter, talking about the physical manifestation, when she was young, she would break out in hives. And I would know that, okay, she's stressed. And I said, okay, what's going on? Or she would say, I have a tummy ache. Psychosomatic is what it's called, right? Manifestation whatever is going on with her emotionally. And it's important to understand that this emotion is a whole area that we must understand and must learn to deal with and process if we are going to lead full, wholehearted lives.
It's so surreal for me that you're saying this, because now I'm remembering something, an experience I had today. I remembered something from a few years ago that really makes me sad. And then I had this pain, throbbing pain in my right chest area. And then it clicked that actually, I always have this pain when I'm sad. Like, it hadn't really clicked. Like it was just today that I connected that physical pain to that kind of deep sadness. I was like, that's really interesting. So now I forgot about the pain, and I was just curious to understand what's happening to my body. Why is sadness causing me physical pain? So now that you talk about even your daughter in the house, I'm like, So for all you know, I've been having maybe headaches, stomachache, and running stomach without knowing.
Absolutely. In my experience, like, I've had a stressful few months, and I'm also a woman, which is a whole other issue in that, menopause stage of life, right? And so, stress then increases this chemical called cortisol in our bodies, which can increase belly fat. So I'm like, why is my belly? I'm not liking how this thing is happening. And I realized that, wow, it's also to do with the stress I'm not processing. So it all kind of mixes together. But it's important to understand all the dimensions of it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you say stress I'm not processing. It means that there is a way to deal with it. It's not like, okay, you have it and that's it. Or is the only option to go see like a professional, or is there a way to manage our emotions, especially in these times where you go, like today, my goodness, prices of tickets to Accra. It used to be like in and out was like 800 cedis. Today I'm paying like almost 1,007 cedis or something, like more than double. I'm like, what? Like, I know things have gone up, but this is still shocking. Even though I know, it's still shocking to me. And so is there a way to manage these sort of emotions in these times, the shocks and the sadness, the disappointment? Is there any way? Lady Rissi, let's start from you.
Yeah, there are many ways, but going back to what your mother said, Lady Abba, I grew up in the same type of household. But when I come to think of it, as a matter of fact, my daughter challenged me last week. We were talking about it. And she used the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To tell me that we come here to give birth to them, and they have shelter, and they have all the basic needs. Mm-hmm. So now they are operating from that level of esteem and self-actualization. Mm-hmm. And because of our own upbringing, where some people's basic needs are not met, we come with the mentality like, you have everything. What else do you need? And she said, you guys are at fault because you are looking at us from the lens of your parents who thought just having shelter and your basic needs is enough. No, we need esteem. We need to be honored. We need that, interaction that parent and child interact with respect. And that took me back somewhere. I was like, whoa, that is so true. So for some people, Lady Duncan, Lady Amma, I love the Duncan part of your name. Yeah. For some people, they are still struggling for basic needs. And somebody will tell you, if there is no food on the table, I can't even think about my emotions or my mental health. So this has to be distilled in different stages. Somebody is stressing just for the food on the table. They can't even wrap their mind around this connection you've made about your body and the pain. Somebody has that basic need met, but they are not secure. They might not be able to go there. So we're talking about that third level to the fourth level people who now you have all these basic needs met, and you can now process. You have that 30 minutes. Somebody has a 1-bedroom and a veranda, 4 kids sleeping on the floor. They don't know quiet time.
Yeah.
Because every second these kids are screaming.
Yes.
So when we talk about mindfulness, for somebody like that, where are they even going to pull and have a moment? So just to bring all that to bear, that I know these things are happening concurrently. And so for a person like that, maybe the kids will go to school and that will be your little outlet. And if you are a woman of faith or a man of faith and you know prayer, you can get quiet. Most of the time that we are just sorrowful and pulling all these things out of us, but you can have conversations with God instead of that liturgy and that level of prayer where you are in distress. Some of the Psalms will teach you a healthy way to practice mindfulness, where you sit with your thoughts, because these emotions are feelings and thoughts, and then they become actions. So you can have conversations about what all of that is. There is a song, Be Still My Soul, the Lord is on your side. You are self-soothing, humming. You'll be surprised. Humming, it releases some of these tensions. So there are bodily things you can do. The other time I felt frazzled and I literally hugged myself.
Oh.
Why is it that when we are mourning, we put our hands on our head? Somatically, it makes a difference. Watch what our grandparents and our mothers did. And there is a trail of clues as to how to soothe and calm the body. You see how when the tears get, they rock? Yes, it all helps.
And then when
yes,
I don't know how
yes,
but
it all helps.
Yeah.
It all helps. So we got to go back to those basic things and give the scientific evidence to convince people that they did it. I remember when my mom came to, when I had my daughter, I was trying to stop, breastfeeding. And then she said, oh, Nkuto is good. I said, give me the evidence. She said, you sit. Guess what? 3 days when my, the noodles were gorging and I was in pain. He said, now do you want Nkuto? I said, yes, please. They don't explain things to you.
Yeah. And that rocking thing, right? Because it is when we were a baby, your mother rocks you to calm you down, to soothe you. So therefore, I know somebody who lost their mother and they couldn't cry physical tears, but whenever they were sad, they would just begin to rock, and that was their way of soothing themselves. I think the only thing I'll add, or to enhance what you just said, Sister Rissi, is the fact that we've understood now, and Sister Rissi has an amazing technology she uses, emotional detox, right? There's all these snazzy, words and phrases now: emotional detox, mental health, emotional wellness. There's one word I heard by Adam Grant, who's an organizational psychologist, and he called it emotional hygiene. And so what he says is that just like we exercise physical hygiene, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you have your bath, you take care of your grooming and so on, we should also incorporate emotional hygiene practices into our lives. It's not that, when I'm every 6 months, when I go through something, then I'll practice it. No, we have to have things in our daily routine that we do that will keep us grounded and balanced, emotionally, spiritually.
Emotional hygiene. I like that. So daily practices, daily routines, like spiritually Christians, we are doing quiet time, we are praying, but then we have the emotional bit too. And I really, really want you to share a few tips. But first, let me just say, Lady Rissi, your daughter is the deep woman. Because what she shared about, the level that they are operating from, my goodness, I haven't really thought about it, but I'm like, yeah, actually, they are not worrying about food anymore. That's sorted. What next? So yeah, thank you. Tell her she's a very, very deep woman. So
all I can say is she keeps me on my toes.
Right. So please, let's share some of these tips that, I'm sure you both know some of the women in our community, amazing women. Most have their own businesses, full-time employment as well. And then they are managing, their homes, wives, single mothers, divorced, a plethora of women in our community. Going through life already, COVID came, we are just recovering, and then prices say, okay, I don't know, we're always blaming it on some two countries somewhere fighting, whether that's true or not. Well, at this point, we can't solve that. But what are these emotional hygiene practices that, a few tips that we can incorporate into our daily routine, weekly, monthly, to help us cope in these times, to take care of our mental health in these times. So let's start with you, Lady Abba, and then
go. Yeah, and I think even before we be going to this, just to say again that, Lady Rissi and I are not here to tell you, 5 strategies to live a happy life and never have a poor day again. But we're not here to tell you that, because life happens, right? Yeah. Life happens. Jesus himself said, in this world, you will have trouble. So issues will come. They will come and they will come again. I think about my daughter. She's in university now, but for all through, elementary school till she graduated, she was a competitive dancer. And so 3 times a week, she's at the dance studio. And one thing they always do before every practice, before every competition, is they stretch. And then they will even get them to stretch at home. Why? Because they want to maintain their flexibility. They start to become stiff. If even, let's say, while she was a competitive dancer, maybe we travel and she hasn't danced for 2 weeks, she'll come back and realize that she's stiffer. Right? Because if she's flexible, she's able to do all the moves, the dances, cope with the demands, right? That the dance is putting on her body. Why am I saying this? Is that life is not easy. Yes, you are right. There's a financial crisis. There's still a COVID crisis. There are relationship things going on. There's so much that is coming at us, and we must increase what I'm going to call our psychological flexibility. Psychological flexibility. So you're right. We have to have things in place. I feel like one of the things I want to start out by saying is that there's a saying, and I know Sister Rissi knows this. It says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So how we approach our lives, sometimes we think, wow, I used to make this amount of money, now I'm not making it. Or my money used to take me this far in the month, now it's not. Therefore, my life has to stop. I have to just crouch and not live again. But the point of psychological flexibility is, how can I, incorporate things into my life that allow me to still live the life that I believe I was called to live? And oftentimes it's our relationship to even some of these things that have happened. Sometimes we stay in the past and drag the problems, and make ourselves worried about it. Sometimes we go into the future and imagine a crazy, scary, worst case scenario future that hasn't even happened. Sometimes we even hear doomsday, or you hear COVID, or you hear whatever, and then all of a sudden, then we have to change our relationship to it. Yes, you know what? Let's agree. These times are difficult. It doesn't mean that we have to necessarily go through a sadness, a low mood every day of our lives, as long as these things are in place. How can we still live and thrive even in spite of that? So I'll start with just one, and I know we'll go back and forth. Gratitude, I think, is important. Gratitude, understanding all the things you've been blessed with. I spoke to Mrs. Charlotte Osei. I had a conversation with her a few weeks ago, and one thing she said she did was she bought an empty jar. And it's a very simple practice at the beginning of the year, and every day she'll write something she's grateful for. Put it in there. And she says even the visual of just seeing, right, the thing grow reminds her of God's faithfulness, which even taps into the power of worship. Just calling to mind all the amazing things. If he's done it for you, then he will do it again. So gratitude, I think, is certainly one very important thing. I have something I call a God can. So I realize that rather than have things sit on me, then I have another can where I'll write down whatever the prayer request is, whatever the worry is, and say, Lord, you know what, I'm putting it in this can. Work on it for me. And so that's another way of maybe flushing some things out of my system. Even if I can't do the full emotional processing, it's another way of getting it out of my system and reminding me it's in God's hands. So therefore, I'm not going to sit and be angry. What do I need to do to live and to thrive today? So those are just 2 things. There's many, many more. As we keep conversing, we'll come up with them. Yeah.
I think the God can thing is so cool. So like anytime you're reminded, oh wait, I have already sent that to God. So can we not? Oh, yes. I love it. Can we not go through that?
It's a God can, but it reminds me that God can.
Literally, yeah.
Right. But then the point is that I'm not going to then sit in sorrow and say, because sometimes you feel like, okay, if this, and I know when I was growing up, I would have a problem and I felt I had to carry the problem on my shoulders, right? Till it was resolved. If you do that, you won't live. You truly won't live. I think God has called us, first of all, to cast the burden onto Him, to talk to Him, tell Him what it is that's bothering us, and then put it in His hands. Right? And then say, okay, what can I control? What can I not control? The things I cannot control, Lord, it's in your hands. But then what can I do, right, to increase my psychological flexibility, to allow me to have a good experience, in this walk of life that I'm doing?
Thank you. So gratitude, definitely.
Gratitude. God can.
Yeah. All right, Lady Rissi.
And I have something I call the STOP method. Very simple, STOP. The S means literally stop. The T is take a deep breath. And what taking deep breaths does for us, and we're not talking about breathing from your chest, but breathing from your diaphragm, where your belly button really goes in. Your chest rises. And then you release the breath as if you are blowing through a straw. When you do this a couple of times, the signs of the anatomy of the body is your sympathetic nervous system is the one that has the alarm bells raging, the fight, flight, and flee. Your parasympathetic nervous system is the one who keeps you at rest. So when you take those deep breaths, you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the peacemaker, to take over from the raging feelings of the sympathetic nervous system. So S is completely stop whatever you're doing. Take those deep breaths, maybe 4 times. O is observe what it is. As Lady Abba said, something is making you feel the way you feel. So make the observation. And then the P is process. And sometimes you might make the observation, but you don't have the time to process immediately. So you can bank it. But just taking those deep breaths. Let's say somebody is confronting you and your temperature, emotional temperature is rising. Taking those deep breaths will activate your parasympathetic nervous system to say, hey, well, we can keep calm. We don't have to engage. And it can happen when fear, doubt, even the next day scenario, places where you buy your goods, services, you can't afford it. Keeping yourself calm actually will keep you calm enough for the new idea to come, because there is something, and I'm going to send it to both of you on LinkedIn. Somebody did an interesting demonstration on TikTok. 2 bottles. One had something like beads. The other one had water. Put them together. The water transferred to the top and the beads transferred to the bottom. So where your energy goes, where your mind goes, your energy goes. And I believe we need to even teach this. How people can look into their future and not allow the present circumstances to dictate what that future looks like. Because yes, you don't have $1 in the bank right now, but if you are a creator, a business person, there is something in you that knows how to create. So you can sit in this meditative state, begin to envision 2 years from now. I mean, look at Zoom. Zoom had the plan. They didn't even, they were executing when COVID hit. It put them on the top because now we are all using it. So some of us, we actually created in this dispensation to solve these problems. So are you seeing that as a problem that is making your life helpless? Or are you seeing that as a problem that you can be a part of the solution? So for me, the observation part is me having these conversations with myself and where do I fit in?
Yeah, and I want to say something, Sister Rissi. You just said something important. How we view our thoughts is important. Sometimes we are fused to our thoughts and we think whatever we think dictates how we should feel. It's almost as if our thoughts are managing us. but you can actually separate yourself from the thought. So the thought that, wow, the economy is bad, prices are going high, I'm not going to be able to make, if you don't manage it, it will take you to a very stressful place. And one thing that sometimes, helps me is I imagine myself at a train station on a platform, all right? And maybe there's a train coming, all right? But maybe the train that comes is not the train I want. If I sit on it, it will take me where it's going. But I have the choice to say, you know what, I'm looking for train number 4. This is train number 2. I'm not getting on. And if you just stay, it will come and pass. Same with our thoughts. You are not your thoughts. So yes, you don't have to, the thoughts of, okay, the economy, this is happening, my business isn't what it is. You can say, all right, let me just stay. In this moment, I'm not at that place in the future. Right now, I'm okay, right? I have food on my table, whatever it is, I'm okay. This thought will come and pass and I'll be okay. And I think that's another strategy too. Otherwise, you become so connected to that thought that wherever you go, it's following you like as if it is stapled to you. And I think you can separate yourself, put some distance, and the same goes for the thoughts of the past. Sometimes we stress, we cry because of things that happened to us in the past, but actually think about it. You're actually not there anymore. Yeah. You are here. Right now, I'm here talking to my sisters. Yeah. So I can think about something that happened to me when I was 12 or 16 or 24 and get myself all anxious. But truly, it is my fusion with that thought that is causing the anxiety. I can separate myself. I'm not there.
Yeah. 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 There's something I say. Oh, sorry.
Right.
I had ended.
Go ahead. And so this thought, like a train or like a cloud, if I just stay, I can just watch it to come and pass. And I'm going to breathe through it. Breathe through it.
There's something I say. I don't live there anymore. I don't live there. I don't live there anymore. Anytime something from the past comes, and it's interesting. So there's this book I'm currently reading. What's her name? Gabrielle something Stein. She wrote this book. It's about shame or something. And I remember as I was listening, I listened on Audible. I kept thinking, but why is this woman so sad? What? Like she had been through so much pain. And I was thinking, me, no. I haven't gone through what she's going. Like I was like, feeling all like I'm okay. Then I got to a point, she spoke about shame. And I started thinking, oh my God, like I had all these memories of shameful situations I'd been in. And I couldn't believe how much shame I have in like that I had just packed into some box. And then until I read it, I listened to this and I kept reflecting. And then, I told myself, I don't live there anymore. Yeah, it was really super shameful, but I don't live there anymore. And I'm wondering, now that these things are coming up for me, these past things that I didn't even know I felt that way about them, and they are coming up. And for anyone who is listening and is going through a similar situation, what are some of the things that, yes, I do say that I don't live there anymore, but sometimes I'm a bit worried. What if it doesn't work when I say that to myself? What else?
Right. So sometimes, that's why there's mental health professionals like Rissi and myself, right? You invest and then work through the unprocessed, the unresolved issues, and of course, that is a long-term, a more thorough way of dealing with emotions. Right? But certainly from the day-to-day, how can I not let this thing sit on me when I've got children to raise, I've got a job to do, separate myself from the thought, let it pass. Breathe through it and then get through your day. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much, ladies. I feel like I'm learning and some things are opening up in my mind, and I'm sure whoever is listening to whatever is in it for them, they are receiving it. And I'm wondering, these times, someone describes it as, how they say dark clouds. And I'm wondering, do you see any silver lining anywhere in these dark clouds in terms of the emotions of a person? So let's start from you, Lady Rissi, please.
Life is always going to stretch us. And I love, Lady Abba, when you said your daughter will stretch in reference to keeping her flexibility. The reason why my daughter had the injury is she played basketball and volleyball in high school. Went to college, didn't do anything with, the rigor of training to do all that. So like an elastic band, what the doctor, and she had surgery for her torn ACL 2,000 years ago. Oh, 2019. I said 2,000 years ago. 2019. She wasn't even born. I wasn't here. And then this year, the meniscus also tore. So the explanation to all of that is the fact that that aspect of her that used to get all these flexibility, rigor, is not being used. Think about it for a second. So she had the first surgery, 2019, for the ACL. And then this couple of weeks was the meniscus. So now she's talking to a physical therapist. How do I keep my flexibility and all these other body parts greased and pliable? And most of us, we are not greased and pliable mentally and emotionally. And it can be taught. Because if you are not flexible in her situation, at that point where there is the elasticity because of how she used to stretch and do whatever the routine before she played those sports stopped, she was not very resilient in reference to how, like the rubber band. So then whatever, those muscles just snapped. That is the best example I can give for a physical injury. So most of us, because we are not maintaining this emotional hygiene, we don't even know how to breathe. We are very reactive. We have not resolved, we have not dealt with unfinished business. We are brittle, emotionally brittle. Somebody at the market said, oh, it cost me this much. You snap because first of all, you're already up here. And then you pick a fight that doesn't belong to be a fight. And somebody says something, they are talking to themselves. And before you know it, you've jumped in it because all your emotions, because you don't practice emotional hygiene, you have no outlet for your emotions. We literally don't process them. So it sits and somebody knocks and then there is a spillover. Like when our WC clogs, what goes down, right, comes back up. We don't realize that, like Lady Abba said, you're supposed to literally metabolize your emotion. I tell people the same way we put food in our mouths and we chew on it and break it down with saliva so that it is able to pass through the esophagus and go through the digestive tract and go through a process of elimination. Some replenishes our body and the rest come out as waste. So our emotions, we are supposed to really digest them, metabolize them, release what needs to be released, and let the rest that needs to nurture us. But I don't remember in my secondary school education or even anything that I've done, anybody preparing me for life like that, dealing with emotions. So I feel like these are the conversations we need to start having, and not only start having, but give people these practical tools so that they realize that there are things they can do about it.
You know, as you're speaking, I'm imagining a group of women about to get married and having the opportunity to sit in a circle under the feet of someone who is more experienced and help them, especially with the emotional bit that nobody prepares you for. Or maybe they tell us in counseling, but we don't even remember. We are too excited and happy. We are going to get married.
In love. I think Sister Rissi used the word, we become so reactive when stress and difficult times come. I don't believe that's actually God's plan for us. He wants us to be intentional, right? To our daily steps should really follow the path of the calling, which we have discovered that he has called us to do. And what we end up doing is we end up fighting fires and stopping and becoming reactive and angry. That's not his plan. And I'm thinking here about something called the serenity prayer. The serenity prayer. And most people know just the beginning of it. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and then the wisdom to know the difference. So for every challenge we face, right, there's two categories. What things can I not change? Those things, Lord, give me serenity, give me peace. The other category is what things can I change? Lord, help me come up with a strategy. And I know, Lady Amma, you probably have other people you are interviewing on your podcast to sit down and say, here's how you should restructure your business, your life, your finances in tough financial times, right? That is things you can change. But then what can we can't change it. You know what? Tough financial times are here. Petrol is high. What have you? There's political turmoil. What? The prayer continues this: living one day at a time. Sometimes when you're going through difficult times, you may not be able to solve everything at once, but how can I get through today? How can I, sometimes you may even have to break your day. Lord, give me strength for the morning. Give me strength for this next hour, right? And then it says, enjoying one moment at a time. You know, it's true. The money I brought in, maybe it's not going as fast as it did in June because of all the price hikes. Doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy my life. Doesn't mean I'm not going to still continue to walk the journey God has called me to walk. I think we should be mindful of those things, you know. So anyway, the serenity prayer is one way that I remind myself, you know what, even though times are hard, even though I'm being assaulted on every front, even as I'm processing my emotions, even as I'm showing gratitude and so on, every day, my job is to allow myself to be emotionally, psychologically flexible, to deal with what life brings, and not to be reactive, but to be intentional in how I walk this walk, to be intentional in breathing, to manage my nervous system, to be intentional in my prayer time and my worship and my movements, going for my walk. Another important thing, Lady Amma, you listen to audiobooks. You're always, when I find myself so low, that is definitely a signal that I need to infuse myself with more knowledge, more inspiration, you know, so that I can get over this hump. And it's a journey. It's a journey. You know, it's a journey, but we're going to make it. Progress is not always linear. You may have a wonderful week and then tell it today was a bit hard. It's okay. Pick yourself up. I always say this. We are always one decision away from continuing to walk the path God has called us to walk. Even if today wasn't so great, even if today I didn't do my breathing or eat properly, or today I ended up putting on stress, you know what? Or today I can breathe. I can remind myself, okay, let me just breathe. Today, let me just do my gratitude practice. Let me go on Clubhouse. Sister Rissi has her emotional detox. I do it. Sister Rissi, do you know that? Sometimes I go on, because now on Clubhouse, you record some of your sessions. So sometimes I don't have time to go when you're live. There have been times I've just gone on and gone through one of your sessions, you know, in my own time, you know? So all of these things, just find you don't need necessarily, it's great if everybody can do 20 different things, but truthfully, we don't have the time. Find the handful of things, you know, and put it in your emotional toolbox so that you can use it as a daily basis. You must keep yourself strong through the battle, because life, one metaphor for life is, it is a battle. It's a battle. It's a journey. It unfolds in ways that are unpredictable. We don't know. And we must keep ourselves strong and grounded, you know, as we are taking this walk of life.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I don't know, this is off, but let me ask you, please, will you both be in Ghana in March? And the reason I'm asking about March, so we are still developing our conference, but I'm thinking about sitting at the feet of women like you and just sharing your stories with us, younger women, and just listening and taking it in and asking you questions. So as you were talking, and then I had that picture in my head. I'm like, oh God, how amazing would that be? And so that's why I just had to ask, even on record, because usually we have to talk about this behind the scenes, right? But anyway, God knows what He's doing, so we'll just trust Him. Him.
And I want to use it as a teachable moment. We need to learn how to use our imagination. You say you were imagining it. Little did you know that it was already in the works. And so most of the time, in that distressful place where we are not trusting, We live all these different things that are working on our behalf. When you schedule this thing, you didn't even know that and I haven't spoken to Lady Abba in a while. So we have not even had the conversation. But can I trust the God in me that all things will work together? And that is just what happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I Hope is my platform. And I was listening to one of the lead researchers on hope, and he said something. He says, imagination is the fuel of hope. Imagination is the fuel of hope. So God also, and that's how he made us in his image and likeness. And it's that same imagination he used to create the world, and he puts that same spirit in us. So we can use our thoughts to think every which scary thing, or we can allow ourselves to go through these emotional wellness practices and then rather harness our emotions as a fuel to a hope and a better future and the things we desire. So yes, I agree with you, Sister Rissi.
To add to what you just said, actually, God imagined you and I into being.
Exactly.
He imagined the formless pieces that was a vacuum into being. And so if he imagined you and he made you through that imagination, and that image and likeness is you have his DNA, his divine nature and attributes, you can do things exactly the way he did it. So if he imagined the world into being, you can imagine your way out of your circumstance. And in my stillness practice, when I help you to calm down and have the conversation with the Lord and all of that, the last part is dream with God. What do you want the future to look like? Take 2 minutes of your time and recreate that reality. Because truths come in 3 brands, ladies. And we have the imagined truth, which is the scary part of it, where we are imagining it, right? And we have the facts. But there is your soul truth, something your soul knows, deep, that nothing can touch, including the circumstances of life that we are going through. But when you learn to live from the inside out and allow those places to settle, then your soul is able to take over.
Amen. That's the pure part of you, the God that came from God, right? Unencumbered by the things that happen to you in the world that cause you to say, oh, I'm low self-esteem, or oh, I'm not good enough, or whatever it is. It is the deep part of you. And if you can connect that part with God, then yes, yeah, love it.
I love it too. I love it. Hey, thank you, ladies. Before I let you go, I have some questions that I'm going to ask. So short phrases, just complete them with whatever comes to mind, whatever is true for you. So Lady Abba, we'll start with you. You've both answered these before. Let's see what you say this time. So the first question, if I could advise my younger self in one short sentence, I would say,
learn to look after yourself spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, professionally. Learn to look after yourself.
I am fabulous because
I am.
Oh, let me go on. One book that has greatly helped me in business is?
This year, it's a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And it's an amazing book written in 1928. And it was self-published at the time, and now it's sold so many copies. Many of the things Sister Rissi was saying is in here. And it's about really channeling your energies, your thoughts, your imagination to manifest what God has called you to manifest. Amazing book. I think I've read it 2.5 times this year already, and I'm going to read it again. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So Lady Rissi, your turn now. If I could advise my younger self in one short sentence, I would say,
continue to depend on your intuition. It has brought you this far.
Now that's another conversation to have. Intuition, another time. Yes, thank you. I am fabulous because
I am wonderfully and fearfully made.
One book that has greatly helped me in business is
Conversations with God by Neil Walsh. This man has a clubhouse room. I bounced into that room and it has taken me on a journey. He was homeless, eating from garbage cans, and screamed one day, God, if you are real, reveal yourself to me. These became audible conversations that he wrote. He has written 3 books. And to hear the exchange, particularly as a person of faith, is just chilling and groundbreaking. So that is what I've immersed in. And actually, he has a course, a 7-week course. I'm on my 6th week because I was like, no, I cannot just read a book. I need to immerse myself. But it speaks to all the tying the loose ends of what we call the life journey. Because how do we do life? And in that conversation, you'll be able to pick the, antidotes and nuggets about what life is all about. So, yeah.
So, Conversations with God by Neil what?
Walsh. But it's on Audible. He has all 3 in one, sort of on Audible. So, yeah.
Thank you. I started reading that book sometime and stopped it. I stopped reading because I was scared. I don't know why I was scared. The Conversations with God.
Yeah. It will confront, you know why? It confronts our religious belief systems.
Okay. I don't know whether I thought I'll start seeing things. So I stopped. But I'm going to be brave and read it again because I think it will be beautiful just to hear what others are chatting to God. And I mean, God audibly responding. I think, yeah, because I was like, what if he starts talking to me like, yo? I know. Sometimes I need to come and have my head checked, like seriously.
Then you sit and listen to him, right?
If I don't run first, and God will be like, Amma, where are you going? Come here. Yeah, but thank you for the reminder. So I will have to look for it. I think I'm having these signals that I really need to listen to that book. I mean, go back to it and stop being so scared. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, so ladies, then the last question. What's exciting and popping in your businesses? I know you both you have programs you've run, maybe you have your podcast and all. So please share with us what's happening in your businesses right now. How do we find you and join any of these? So Lady Abba, please go first.
Yeah, so on social media, I am at Cato Andah. That's my handles across the different platforms. My website is hopemonger.life. And so you can find me there. Something I'm really excited about is I am working on my 2nd book. And it's a collaboration. We talked about how this is a season of collaborations. And it is, they say, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go with somebody. So I'm collaborating with a young lady called Zoe Baraka. Right. And she approached me actually and said, Sister Abba, you know what? We're basically doing that. We're both storytellers. My platform is Hope. Her platform is To My Younger Self. So we are writing a book called Letters of Hope to My Younger Self. And so we've interviewed about 35 prominent, inspiring Ghanaians, and we gave them a set of questions. I've been blown away. And then actually when they write the letter to themselves, then we interview them. I've been blown away. When you see somebody all successful and well-made, then you understand. It's not that they didn't go through things. It's amazing. This one guy who is the ultimate, he's connected and he's successful. I thought his letter would be about 3 tips on how to stay connected and be successful. No, he spoke about, an illness he's had since childhood and how he continues to, it causes him anxiety. I've been blown away. It's like God actually, I think, put me in this project, and I'm talking a lot, I'm sorry. Zoe and I, every time we interview somebody, we're like, wow, we feel like God was talking to us through it. So it will come out in February, March. It's called Letters of Hope to My Younger Self. I'm looking forward to that. And then Sister Rissi and I will be collaborating next year as well. So I'm excited about that too. So.
Wow. And congratulations on this fabulous book. And now that even just giving me this tip of the eyes, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to read this. So we look forward to having that too. Lady Rissi.
It really sounds exciting, Lydia. But yeah, I am excited for LinkedIn because little did I know that the nurses, people on the front lines, need emotional detox. And I've been finding nurse practitioners who are at the brink. You know, people don't realize that emotions is what is causing the grief and even the breakups and whatever in relationships. And I've been finding them and pouring into them so that they can not only go back to the profession, but they can go back home whole. So that is really, really exciting.
Awesome. So I've seen the comments and, you know, just how you're impacting people on LinkedIn and Clubhouse. That's amazing. Exciting.
It is exciting that, again, look at a season of our lives where these social media platforms is where we've been called. I call LinkedIn and Clubhouse my pulpit. And yet most of us are still waiting for somebody to give you permission to come and preach in their church. So ladies and gentlemen, if you can hear me right now, what are you called to do? What is that soul telling you to stretch yourself and fling that comfort zone and walk into?
That is so true. The issues of life should not stop us from accomplishing God's purpose in our lives. And I think if there's one last message, that's what I want to tell people. You know, you weren't supposed to accomplish what He's called you to do because life is easy.
Exactly.
Right? He wants you to learn how to walk through it and hold His hand through it.
And you know what is interesting in reference to what you said? If we look at Moses, he was crying out to God and God said, "What is in your hand?" Most of us, the stuff is in our hand, but we are too busy looking to God when the God in you. You see, we separate ourselves from God, and the conversations of God with God brings us in that proximity where it's like if Jesus said He in us and us in Him, what do we think that means? But we separate ourselves as if God sits above somewhere and we have to consult Him to do things. All we need to do is cultivate that space within us where God is and have access to it. But religion doesn't want you to. Do you know I was driven out of church because I taught people how to pray for themselves and not go for pray for me? Literally, because when they go to the pray for me, then they will collect their offering. So actually, I was disrupting somebody's business. Little did I know.
Exactly.
It's so interesting you're talking about God living in you. Let me tell you something I underlined in the Bible this morning. So this is Luke 17, verse 21, where somebody asked Jesus about the kingdom of God and when it will come. And then He says, the kingdom of God does not come with your careful observation, nor will people say, here it is or there it is, because the kingdom of God is within you. And I underlined it and I was like, God, so what does it mean? What do you mean by that? And then to hear you talking about Jesus in me, and I'm like, yeah, there's my goosebumps now. You know,
Christ is the hope of glory, right? Christ
exactly.
Is the hope of glory.
Exactly. So then instead of consulting your friends, if you sit quietly enough, He will drop that answer within you and you would go out and do what you've set yourself to do, and it's going to happen. The first person who brought this radio bandwidth was called insane. They put them in an asylum. The first human being who knew there was a frequency higher than us and said it can be used for radio. Now look at broadband and all the things we are doing. So within you, your soul knows your purpose. If you calm the soul nerve, which is our nervous system, our nervous system is called our soul nerve. So if you stop allowing people to get on your nerves, and you nurture that place within you and get quiet enough, I believe some of you are solutions to today's problems. Meanwhile, you are swimming in shallow water and catching the sand and the seashells and all the different things. But deep calleth unto the deep.
Oh my. Where's the offering basket? This is so deep. Ladies, thank you so much. And I can only imagine what's more to come. Thank you. And I know that whoever this message is for, they're also going to receive their share. And when they say God bless you, just know that your cups will continue to just run over and over, and all your collaborations and projects will be an amazing success. May God blow your minds with blessings and abundance and all your dreams coming true. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Wasn't that just fabulous? I was telling them after the interview that I feel high in a positive way. I feel like all these emotions are going through me, and it feels warm and exciting and beautiful. It was just really beautiful for me, and I hope that whatever was in it for you as well, it speaks to you. Whatever God is telling you through this message, that these messages from these women, please, ladies, gentlemen, take it and run with it. I have taken mine. I feel like God is, getting my attention. God is saying, Amma, open your eyes. I'm showing you something, and I've been afraid for so long. And I feel like this conversation is just harvesting all these things I've been thinking about of late, all these different things. They are sort of coming together nicely like a puzzle. I don't have the full picture yet, but I am really, really being drawn to another dimension, like another level in terms of not just my business, because, we are 7 years and we are going on to our 8 years. So it's like a fresh start, but also even personally, my personal growth. I feel like God is opening my eyes to something. And through this conversation, I'm getting all these signals. And I don't know what's speaking to you through it as well. I mean, yes, we set off to talk about emotions, but so many other things have come up. And whatever message is in it for you, lady, gentleman, run with it, okay? God is calling us his children. He has, there's a big field of souls, and God needs us to work, and we cannot be playing, oh, I'm afraid, and oh, I have this emotion, so I can't, and I'm waiting for this emotion to die down. No. This is not the time. We are running with God. We are fulfilling his purpose in spite of the price hikes, in spite of the other emotions, in spite of. And thank God we also have help. We are not alone. We have God, and we have all the supports, the cloud of witnesses, and all these that God has given us. Let's run with it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this has spoken to you, and run with it. God willing, next week as well will come your way looking at another dimension of wellness. Until then, please stay blessed, stay fabulous, and don't forget to share this video to someone else who may need it. God bless you. Toodles. Bye.